Hi, everybody. Good morning. It is Friday, November 17th. It's a nice, crisp 45 degrees outside. Get your cups of coffee and let's talk some Bears. Welcome into Shaw Locals Bears Insider Podcast. He's Sean Hammond. I'm Jake Bartelson. Thanks so much for making us a part of your morning. You can follow us on Twitter or X at Jake Bartelson, at Sean_Hammond, and of course, find all of Sean's work, ShawLocalBearsInsider.com. Thanks so much for making us a part of your morning. If you're just tuning in, you can jump into the conversation on YouTube. And thanks so much to all the comments already we got going, Mark and Mike and our usual crew. So we appreciate it. We'll get to your comments as we go. How are we doing this morning, Sean?
What's up, Jake? It's a good morning. It's sunny here in Chicago. We're missing our guy Kyle. He's got the day off, but he's letting us run the show. So let's get wild.
Sounds good. Well, it's a good show to get going. Justin Fields is going to be in the starting lineup. It's something that we've been waiting for the last 4 games. And this is a critical stretch for him and his Bears tenure, just considering how the season has gone and how you look at it in the lens of, has he progressed? Has he not? Where is he in terms of the next contract? All that sort of stuff. So, Sean, for you, what do you need to see from Justin Fields over these final 7 games?
Well, Matt Eberflus said consistency, and I think that's a really, really key thing. I know that was kind of a vague statement, but at the same time, like, we've seen those games where, Justin plays a bad defense, he throws for 300 yards, and then, he plays a Vikings defense that's a little bit better. And, that first half before he got hurt was really ugly. And so you want to see him just play well from game to game, no matter who the opponent is. Yeah, you should throw for 300 yards against Denver and Washington, but when you got tough opponents like the Lions, hopefully, the Bears are at a point where not only is Justin healthy, but seemingly everyone on the offensive side anyway is healthy. Like, you should be able to score points, and it's a tough task to come back and face a really good Lions team. That's going to be a challenge for all the guys, not just Justin. And unfortunately, they got those guys twice here in the next month or so, but I want to see consistency. I'm sure that's what Ryan Poles wants to see. I know he's got to be thinking towards the draft next year, got to be thinking towards the future, but Justin's got these 7 games right here. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's about consistency. Are we going to get the performances versus the Broncos and the Commanders, or are we going to see him struggle against, defenses like the Chiefs and the Packers for week 1? So, just like you said, it's all about consistency. Can he lift this offense and make a real statement to Ryan Poles and, quite frankly, Kevin Warren, the guy above, Ryan Poles? This is the guy that we want moving forward. So I know we have a lot of comments here as we go, so I'm going to try to get to them. Thanks so much for everybody jumping in. Mike, Mark, everybody, good morning. Thanks so much for making us a part of your day. Mike, I'm going to throw your comment up. He said, it does seem we have reached a catch-22 of sorts where if Fields does actually take them on a run, then it saves jobs. And he's talking about Eberflus and the staff. Whereas if he flames out, then everyone, including Fields, is gone. So there's a lot riding on the 7-game stretch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is. And look, I know Ryan Poles has supported Matt Eberflus. He has said all the right things, at least publicly, that he's fully behind Eberflus. If you go 0-7 down this stretch, that can change real quickly. And I don't expect them to. They have winnable games beyond this, these matchups with the Lions. So you got to pick up some wins here. If you're this coaching staff, if you're Justin Fields, you do. And that's a great point. Like, I guess it kind of depends what you want as a Bears fan. Like, yeah, if the Bears go, if they go 4-3 over this stretch and everyone stays, on one hand, I think consistency is good. On the other hand, at least in terms of if you're looking at keeping Justin Fields, you want the coaching staff to stay together. You don't want another offense, all that stuff. I'm sure there's a subsection of the fans that are already looking at the draft. And I know, I hear it in the Twitter comments. We hear it on the show here. So yeah, maybe you could look at this as a little catch-22. I would kind of look at this as, I mean, I think the answer is going to be, I would hope the answer is going to be obvious when we get through these last 7 games. It's possible it's muddied, but I think the play of Justin Fields will tell you what you want to do at the quarterback spot, how this team plays over these 7 games. It's probably going to tell you what you want to do at the head coaching spot.
Right. I think there's so many moving parts to this conversation that it's really difficult to speak in absolutes, especially November 17th as we sit here right now. Who's the head coach? Who's the offensive coordinator? Did Justin Fields get hurt again? What does Kevin Warren say after all this? Like, there's just so much of the unknown that we haven't seen yet. It's really difficult to kind of project out exactly how this is going to be playing out. Mark, with the comments earlier, he said, "I think the next 4 games determine if Matt Eberflus stays or goes." What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is like kind of the when you look at these last 7 games, certainly the first 4 are the clearly the toughest. You know, you got the Lions twice, the Vikings and the Browns. Obviously, the Lions 7-2, one of the best teams in the NFC at this point in the season. The Vikings, despite losing Kirk Cousins, despite having Justin Jefferson out for so long, they've been playing really well lately. And the Browns, I know they just lost their starting quarterback for the season, but that defense is tough, and you know that defense is good enough to keep them in any game, especially if the Bears' offense is struggling. If you're sacking Justin Fields, like that's going to be a winnable game for. That's a game that the Browns should be looking at as a one that they can still win despite being without Deshaun Watson. So yeah, like your team better come to play these next 4 weeks, especially if you're healthy. It sounds like Nate Davis is going to be back on the offensive line. The only starter from the beginning of the year outside of Chase Claypool, who has been traded, of course, who is looking like he's still going to be injured, is Tremaine Edmonds, which is no small thing for your defense. But you look on the offensive side, you're going to be healthier than you were in week 1. I mean, they haven't had the offensive line fully healthy since mid-August when Tevin Jenkins got hurt. And even before that, Nate Davis was missing a lot of time. You better come to play these 4 games. I think that's a really great point because, yeah, they can pick up some wins. Those final 3 games, Arizona, Atlanta, Green Bay, those teams aren't that good. They might pick up a few wins. It's going to make your record look good, but this stretch is a really good litmus test.
No doubt, particularly because, exactly to your point, this is about as all hands on deck as they have been in terms of your personnel. So this is going to give you your best snapshot, your vision that you had coming into the year. This is what I want my offense to look like. All those pieces are in place now, healthy on your offense, and now it's, for the lack of a better phrase, it's kind of put up or shut up time for a lot of these guys as they're fighting for their professional careers moving forward. Sean, I'm going to do a quick read here. Proudly serving the Sauk Valley area for over 55 years, Ken Nelson Auto Group offers 10 new vehicle franchises in one convenient location right here in Dixon, Illinois. Shop a great selection of new and pre-owned vehicles at kennelsonauto.com. So, Sean, one of the questions that you had posed in preparation for this is you asked, how good does Justin Fields have to be for Ryan Poles / whomever, we'll see, for you not to draft a quarterback?
Yeah, and I don't know if folks watching want to throw in their comments here. I'd love to see what you guys think. Yeah, how good does Justin have to be to? I mean, look, you're potentially going to have 2 top 5 picks. That Carolina pick is probably going to be 1, 2, 3 in that range. You're going to have that opportunity to draft a quarterback. We're all talking about it at this point in the season. I think in an ideal team building scenario, you would love for Justin Fields to be the guy so that you can use those picks on other positions, of course. But this stretch is, and really, we have 2.5 seasons of Justin Fields. Like, we know kind of what he is. This is maybe his last stretch to lock down that starting job moving forward. Personally, I think he's got to be really good. I don't know, obviously, what Ryan Poles is thinking, but I want to see the Justin that threw for 300 yards against Denver and Washington. I want to see the guy who wasn't turning the ball over who was getting it out to DJ Moore. Um, yeah, you got to win a bunch of games here down this stretch. I see some guys coming in. CJ says 6-1. Yeah, I mean, he's got to play well, regardless, even if it's 5-2, 4-3, whatever. If Justin Fields he's got to play really, really well, Jake. I don't know what you think.
I think he has to play super well as well, but my suspicion with Ryan Poles, assuming I think he will stick, assuming he's making a pick, Justin Fields is not his guy. He's not the one that drafted him. He inherited him. And in my opinion, I think Ryan Poles likes his guys. Like if you just go back to the Roquan Smith thing, I didn't want to pay him the 20, but he was more than happy to sign Tremaine and TJ in free agency for about the same kind of money. I just think my suspicion is he wants his guy. He wants the clean slate. The GM wants his quarterback, but who knows? So in a way, I kind of wonder, like, I don't know how much it truly matters how well Justin Fields plays down the stretch, especially if they're in a position Carolina continues to lose. If you're sitting at 1 or 2, do you really want to walk away from the Caleb Williams? I know the hype is kind of insane right now. Drake May, do you want to walk away from that? And let's just say like he doesn't, then they ball out. He's the guy that traded out of a spot to get the generational guy. So I just don't think he wants to find himself in that position. I think that's just my suspicion. I mean, I know this is several weeks down the line, but if we're just getting right to the end, I think that's where this is headed.
I love what you're thinking here, Jake. I like that you brought this up because look, you don't know if you're gonna have another top 5 pick a year from now. You don't know. You can't predict, your future draft slots. You don't have as good an eye on some of the quarterbacks who are coming out. I know it's with quarterbacks, especially in the draft, it seems like the grass is always greener. You're always talking about the next year, but Caleb Williams and Drake May are two guys who NFL circles have been talking about for a long time. And those two guys are going to go really high in this draft. And, there's no guarantee that you're going to get a quarterback down the line. And so, yeah, like, is Ryan Poles really going to pass up that opportunity? I tend to think not. Even if they hold on to Justin Fields for another year or going into next season, the trade value, you're going to be like, you can always trade him. If you decide to do that down the line, you can draft a quarterback and have him sit behind Justin for however long you need him to. Those are really good points, Jake, because you don't get the opportunity to do this very often.
A couple comments here we'll highlight. Mike, Ryan Poles definitely loves playing the not my guy game. It's by far his worst quality. CJ chiming in saying, I draft one and keep Justin, let the rookie sit behind him. If Justin doesn't work, trade him then. I think that's a plausible scenario as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be kind of awkward from a
it'd be totally awkward.
It would be totally awkward from a locker room standpoint.
But teams do it all the time.
Yeah,
it happened here with Mike Glennon, and not that he was as established as Justin is, but Andy Dalton, those guys, it happens all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking to somebody about that the other night, just off the air, and we were talking about the whole Mike Glennon, Mitch Trubisky thing. Yeah, so there's a lot of football still to be played. We don't know there's too many unknowns to definitively answer, how this is going to go, who's the coach, who's the offensive coordinator. Like, look at Carolina right now, right? Like, there was a lot of smoke about them liking CJ Stroud, and then they went and drafted Bryce Young. And now you have Frank Reich that's pulling back his play calling for, the second time, to try to jumpstart and what could be a rough situation for them moving down the line. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. It's interesting. But we'll see. A little bit more, couple more comments here. We got a lot of them today. It's great.
Yeah, keep them coming, guys. I do want to mention on the thought of Ryan Poles liking his guy. There's no better example than Velus Jones, who is still on this roster,
1,000,000%,
not playing. that's really all you need to know. And yeah, obviously Roquan Smith is the other great example.
I'm going to pull this one up from Mike earlier. He says if Flus had two brain cells to rub together, he'd pull Getzey and Flus aside and say, "Hey, we're all getting fired unless you two get on the same page, and we're going to run things that work." Um, I don't know if it'd be explicitly said that way, but I'd be really curious to know what those conversations look like. I'm sure they have, those types of meetings, throughout the week. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in those offices. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, look, they got to win football games. I think they know that at this point, and yeah, they should absolutely play into Justin Fields' strengths. They should be doing, we with Justin coming back this week, we should not be reverting back to, what we saw in week 2 against Tampa or some of those early games where he's just sitting back there in the pocket, and the clock's ticking in his head, and the defensive ends are bearing down on him. We should not see that. They need to be playing into his strengths and doing what works well for his game. And yeah, they got to win some football games down the stretch here.
so that kind of leads us into, the bullet point. Obviously, Detroit is upcoming here in the next couple days. What should the offense look like? Now that Justin is installed, Khalil Herbert is right on the doorstep potentially of
hmm
coming back as well. Like, what do you think this is going to look like?
Well, it's tough because I feel like I say it every week, in that they want to lean on that run game, especially early in games, but it's really hard to do that against this Detroit Lions team. They're one of the best defensive teams against the run, so that's going to be a big time challenge. And yes, Khalil Herbert's coming back. Deontay Foreman's been on the injury report. He's been limited. We'll have to see just how available he is. So just how available he is, and whether Khalil Herbert's conditioning is where it needs to be to play a whole game. I still think we're going to see both those guys in some 50-50 type timeshare, but the way to beat this team is through the air, and we said that in that Chargers game, and I fear this is kind of one of those same situations where I don't know if the Bears are going to be able to score enough to keep up. Now, obviously, the Chargers game was different because Tyson Bagent was playing, um, and that got out of hand with your backup quarterback. But hopefully, Justin picks up where he left off and can throw the football downfield, because I think that's gonna be how you're going to stay in this game.
Yeah, very much. I'm right there with you. Detroit's been playing the run great for most of the year. My suspicion is Khalil is going to get the lion's share of carries, because I just think you have a guy that's been out for so long. Sometimes like you just need to get hit, and you need to kind of get jolted back into football, and get back into the physical nature of it, because he's just been out. So they're probably going to want to get him established. My suspicion, and we'll see what happens. We're talking at 9:52 here on Friday morning. They still have the Friday injury report still to come out later this afternoon. So we'll see if things change. But my suspicion is you're going to see a lot of Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you. Like, ultimately, the Bears have their identity has been running the football, and um, I still think they're going to try to do that and lean on that, especially early in the game. Like we've seen frequently, they win the coin toss. They're going to take the football and try to score first and play from ahead. It's going to be tough to do because this Lions team has a lot of weapons on the other side.
Yeah. Offensively, real quick, Cole Kmet just flashed in my head. He's had a
Mhm.
great season. Um, he's really, really improved. I mean, I remember we did this maybe 2 years ago, and I wasn't super high on him. I think the eval has changed. He has been everything that they could have hoped for, blocking wise, a huge security blanket for whoever's at quarterback. And I think he's going to be a pretty big presence to get the passing game going. Obviously, they're going to look to get the ball to DJ. But Cole has usually found some soft spots and got them in chain moving situations.
I like that thought, Jake. I do think too that this is an opportunity for DJ Moore to have another big game. He's been quiet for a little bit. He's got his guy Justin back at the quarterback spot. Look for him early and often in this game. Throw that man the football. I do think that the Bears are going to make a concerted effort to get him the ball, and yeah, Cole's played really well too. He played well despite Justin going out and having a backup quarterback in there. He's one of those guys who can find holes in the defense and catch the football and get you first downs. And that's going to be so important. You see how important that is for the Lions and their rookie tight end, Sam Laporta. He's doing the same thing on the other side. When you have a really good tight end, that really helps you move the chains.
And then just real quickly too, offensive line, obviously we touched on it earlier. Cody Whitehair now moved to the bench with Nate Davis at right guard, Tevin back to left guard, and then Lucas Patrick at center. What do you make of that situation, moving forward and obviously for this week?
Yeah, I would say that's what I expected. I kind of think the writing was on the wall here that Cody Whitehair was going to be moving to the bench. Look, Lucas Patrick, although he's not, an elite center, he started 9 out of 10 games. It's hard to justify changing your starting center midway through the season just because, other guys have gotten healthy. And so you definitely want Tevin out there. You definitely want Nate Davis out there. Those are your 2 top guards. Tevin's your best lineman, period. It doesn't surprise me. I think it's unfortunate for Cody. Obviously, I think Cody's the better blocker, but the snapping issues were just too much of a concern. And, he was moving back into that position for the first time in a while. And look, we'll probably see Cody at some point. Guys get hurt. It's going to happen. 7 games is a long time. He's probably going to wind up back on the field.
And I really I don't know if you saw the tweet from Kyle Long earlier this week about Cody Whitehair, but I really like what Kyle said here, and I'll pull it up. Kyle Long said, Cody Whitehair has played a long time for the Bears. He's played hurt, been moved around back and forth between positions. He never complained once. He's out of the lineup on Sunday, but instead of celebrating, how about tipping your cap? I'm sure the guys in the room have. And I just like that perspective.
That's a great point. And yeah, I think I was looking at this earlier. I want to say it was 117 games Cody's played, and he's never come off the bench. And yeah, like, you do have to tip your cap. I mean, he's one of the longest tenured players on this team. And I know, he's had some good moments, some bad moments this season, but yeah, that's not an insignificant move. And I'm sure that the players recognize that in the locker room.
No doubt. Not bad for a second round pick for as many starts as he had. That's obviously is a testament to his career. So who scares you the most on the Lions? And we'll get to some picks and any other thoughts on the game before we sign off for the day?
Yeah, Jake. I mean, I think the thing that scares you the most about the Lions is the number of different ways they can beat you. I mean, obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown is very, very talented. He's like, the big time weapon in that passing attack. But you look at both those running backs now that David Montgomery is healthy again. They got a really nice 1-2 punch with Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, the rookie who they took in the first round. Both those guys are good, talented young players. Sam Laporta, the rookie tight end who I mentioned earlier, and yeah, Mark says it in the comments here. Aiden Hutchinson and that defensive line; those guys are tough. I mean, the last time the Bears played these guys, Justin Fields was sacked 7 times, and so that was at Ford Field. I hear it's been loud at Ford Field with this team winning football games now. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. Justin's a guy who will give up some sacks. We've seen that throughout his career. I know the O-line's healthy, but this is a tough task ahead.
I totally agree with Mark. Every time I watch the Lions, I cannot take my eyes off of Aiden Hutchinson. The guy is an athletic freak. He can get in the backfield super quick. Like, he is just like, your eyes are drawn to him, and it starts up front with him. He's really kind of embodied that personality of the defense, and frankly, the city seems to just totally embrace him. So Aiden Hutchinson for me would be on that. Sean, keys to the game and picks. Who do you got? Detroit, Chicago.
On the road at Ford Field, I have a hard time seeing the Bears winning this game. I'm going to say something like 35-24, maybe. I think the Bears will score some points, unless Justin comes out here and is incredibly rusty. That's kind of the big concern. But I do think they'll be able to score some points. I think they can move the ball against the Lions. The problem is keeping up with the Lions' with the Lions offense. And yeah, I guess the keys are, can they make the Lions offense one dimensional? I don't think a whole lot of teams have been able to do that this year. Um, can they slow down Amon-Ra St. Brown? Can they force them to do things that they don't want to do? And it's going to be a tough, if Tremaine Edmonds isn't playing, but you got your secondary back there. All those guys are healthy. You've got Montez Sweat now. See what he can do. I know the Lions O-line is pretty good too, but it's hard for me to pick the Bears in this game.
I agree with you. I have concerns that the offense is going to be able to keep pace. Like this is just not a shootout team. It's a team that I think consistency and just good drives, field goals, like they just need a really good start because sometimes you feel like if they go 3 and out the first 2 or 3 drives, you just kind of get the oh no feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then they really just got to scrap and try to find chunk plays from there. Defensively, I like what you said. Try to make the Lions as one dimensional as possible. It's really difficult. They have a great 1-2 punch at running back, as you said. They can pass the ball over the field. Sam Laporta is awesome at tight end. So they got a lot of ways that they can hurt you. I think the Bears will be scoring some points, but I think in the end, Detroit's just overall talent, coaching, they have the advantage over the Bears. So I'm going to be picking Detroit as well. We have a couple minutes left here before we sign off. So people in the comments, thanks so much, CJ, Mike, Mark, all you. Get your score predictions in as we start to wrap up.
Jake, Jared Goff hasn't been sacked in his last 2 games. What do you make of that? I mean, this is a guy who's, not particularly mobile, but that offensive line is really good, and you got a Bears team that has big time struggled to sack the quarterback. Do you think that the Bears can change that here?
I think they'll get close. I mean, watching the game, I know at least, especially for me, I harp on, the lack of sacks and QB pressures. There's a lot of plays where they are real close in the neighborhood, but it's just not close enough. And frankly, Jared Goff is able to get the football out. And that's one way to neutralize a pass rush. So it tells me that his offensive line is playing well, and he's just got the offensive stable that the Bears don't. And then you add in their offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson over there, who's going to be getting some head coaching looks here in the next cycle for sure. Those are all advantage, Detroit Lions. Let's see, Mark, we have 35-28 Bears. We had some Bears optimism here, 27-26 Bears.
Love the optimism.
Well, Mike says this is a letdown spot for Detroit coming off a big West Coast win in LA. You think?
Maybe. I'll believe it when I see it with the Bears team. I say that not because of the Lions, but more so because of the Bears. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm obviously fascinated to see how aggressive are they going to be with Justin. Are they going to let him, run the football, or is he going to have to improvise a lot, or are they going to, try to push the ball downfield and see where it goes? So that'll be real interesting to me. Anything else here, Sean, before we sign off for the morning?
No, I just think this is going to be a tough matchup, and unfortunately, it's going to be twice here, real quick with the Lions. I think on the road is going to be a little bit tougher than at home, but it'll be fun to see the Bears against a team who is the tops of the NFC North. I mean, this is your test. This is your big opponent these days. It's funny to say that with the Lions. Somebody asked Cole Kmet that this week. They were like, you've been a Bears fan a long time. Is it weird that the Lions are good? And he said, yeah, I can't lie about that. This is weird.
Yeah, that is interesting. They had a couple stretches, with the Matt Stafford, Calvin Johnson days,
Yeah.
for the playoffs, but for the most part, it's been pretty difficult if you're Detroit. I just had a great point, and then I lost it as soon as I saw a comment flash up. So on that note, I think we'll let it go. We'll sign off for the day. Everybody, thanks so much for your comments and joining in our conversation. He's Sean Hammond. I'm Jake Bartelson. You can find this podcast anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, shawlocal.com. Make sure you keep an eye on Sean's Twitter feed throughout the day and certainly for the weekend. And we'll talk to you on Monday or the next couple of days after that. Thanks so much and have a great rest of your day.